Yeah, I think the Ral itself is actually a very easy boss, but because of the easy nature of the abilities of the boss, teams tend to just pull a lot of trash on top of it, and that's why we've seen so many deaths and so many wipes in that boss.
Well, it's kind of like when you have the easy rotation for the Council of Captains, and sometimes people just don't quite respect it the way that they should. So we'll have to look as, on average, 1.5 players get killed on this boss every time it gets pulled. Let's see what these teams got as our first round of the lower semis gets underway in Waycrest Manor.
All right, so we're gonna see what kind of comps those teams decide to play. We've seen the same dungeon with Reaping already, and we've seen a bunch of DKs, and there we go, triple DK even.
The triple DK!
Wow.
That is something that we have not yet seen, I think, in the MDI this time, but there it is. 3 of them.
So.
That is really, really exciting. Deplete from Beyond, on the other hand, on the more standard 2 Death Knights and Hunter composition here. Let's see what Perplexed is able to do with 3 Death Knights here. I think this is going to be really spicy. Ooh,
it looks
already
like they
Divine.
Both sides into the boss as well here in Perplexed side. You can see a lot of trash here on top, while all the DKs are just pumping 1 million DPS. Return dropping really low though, did manage to recover.
Look what's happening to these bosses. 26% on Selena before she phased. 35 on Malady. That is wild. Damage from these Death Knights is just off the charts.
I actually feel bad a little bit for the Hunter, even though the Hunter is doing a lot of damage, but compared to the DK, it's just nothing.
yeah. I mean, the good news about the Hunter is you get to do good damage on, like, most pulls, right? Whereas the DKs, sometimes you have these pulls where you're just sitting around hitting like a wet noodle. You can see it's happened a little bit to Wolf Disco here and Dr. J. And that's something that happens, if your cooldowns are slightly later than the other Death Knights, or if you get mind controlled on this fight, you'll do a lot less damage than the other players. Wow, this is pretty impressive, though. Okay, so a little bit more trash count has been taken care of by Perplexed in this pull, but they're actually killing this boss a little bit later than Deplete from Beyond. Despite having more impressive burst on the opener, Perplexed kind of sustained damage, and I would say that this is where the Hunter came in big for Deplete from Beyond, was not quite as good.
Yeah, so it looks like they're actually moving on to the courtyard here. We saw this skip in almost every dungeon where they basically, after Triad, they use their Invis potions to go past this captain troll and past the sister. And now they're having a huge pull inside the courtyard here. Soulbound Goliath being pulled on top of everything else. So there's a huge amount of DPS they need to do onto this trash, because this trash can be very dangerous. Not only because the debuffs that are being casted on top of the group, but also because of the mini-boss here, Matron, which does a lot of tank damage while also having to fight the boss at the same time.
Yeah, they need to be really, really careful here. Oh, actually, yeah, they need to be so careful here of the bursting as well.
The
this
names
is something
are
that
switched, right? Like,
yes,
from Beyond is actually on the right side and Perplexed on the left, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I misspoke a little bit earlier then as a result of that, but that is absolutely the case. Divine Field's team is Perplexed, and Deplete from Beyond is Rentari and Dr. J's team.
Yeah.
All right, Soulbound Goliath dying pretty quickly, though. Both teams making pretty short work here. That triple Death Knight, actually, that we're seeing, so that is Deplete from Beyond with the triple Death Knight, did a pretty good opener here once again, although really only one of their Death Knights really popped off on the opener. That's one of the things about Death Knights, and the third Death Knight is just so much less utility than the first one, because there's so much damage that only one Death Knight can really do. Once all the small mobs have been killed, if one Death Knight was enough to kill the small mobs, then, that the extra Death Knights don't really get any extra benefit from that.
Yeah, and it also, I feel like sometimes because those teams are doing so many big pulls back to back, I think sometimes they'll have one of their DKs hold on to the cooldowns and have only one of them used it, and then on the next pull, they switch it around. That's why it sometimes looks like one DK is the much better player compared to the other one, while in reality, it's just one of them using their cooldowns while the other one is holding on to it.
Yeah, that's something you'll see actually in a lot of different cases in this game where, damage meters will tell one story, but often it's just who was assigned to do what will lock you into a certain finish on the damage meters.
Yeah.
All right, definitely. So 30% ahead is going to be, so we've fixed the names now. It is Perplexed on the left, Deplete from Beyond on the right. 30% ahead on Soulbound Goliath health is when Perplexed was able to finish it off. They're also a little bit ahead on trash count right now as well. So certainly an advantage opening up in favor of Perplexed with that Hunter instead of the third Death Knight.
It looks like they're gathering a huge pool here on Perplexed side as they're just Lightfoot
what is happening
through the
here?
room. They're going into the Hunter's area as well. This is basically half the dungeon that they gathered up here. This is gonna be a huge amount of AoE damage to the whole group. But you don't have to heal the damage if the mobs are dead before they can do anything. But Wolf Disc actually
Wolf Disco goes down though, and there's a lot
unfortunately.
actually of problems here. As somebody dies, this is going to make bursting much more deadly here. It's going to make it a lot harder to do bursting cleanly. And there are so many mobs in this pool that bursting is going to be a serious threat. You can see those stacks accumulating on the whole group. Everybody's health just getting, oh my goodness, a Shine barely surviving there. All of those stacks. Great spell reflect coming out from Divine Field as the rest of the team line of sights those those spits rather.
Yeah, that was actually really well done. One thing that can be a little bit of a time loss is if your tank is trying to spell reflect a spit cast, but then it gets absorbed by any sort of corruption that you have on yourself or something from beyond, anything like that. It can definitely consume your spell reflect, so you want to make sure you use it at the correct time to not have anything absorbed like that. And there we go, another big pull by Perplexed. It's just one big pull into the next and deplete from beyond, unfortunately having Curse to go down. They do manage to just rest him back up normally right after the pull.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't choose to use their battle res here. They had him dead while they had a Thorn Guard at about 50% health, and they decided to just slowly kill the Thorn Guard by itself and then save that battle res. It's a safer strategy, but it's definitely a slower strategy, and I'm not sure you can afford to be slower against a team like Perplexed.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe they're afraid of some of their pulls later because, let's be honest, I mean, if you look at those pulls, even this Ral pull that Perplexed just did, if you pull a lot of trash on top of a boss and you have somebody go down, you have to finish the boss with one less DPS, right? Because that's the last battle rest and they actually had to use it here, so they had to use the battle rest, but Rentari is dropping incredibly low as they have all of that bursting stacks going off on everybody. Just barely managed to survive. Dr. J also incredibly low, but they should be able to finish this pull. And yeah, you can see just how much damage is going out in the groups in these kind of pulls that they're doing.
Yeah, it's such a rough combination of bursting, and then you have all these maggots coming out as bursting is at its worst as well. And if you got a combination of a big stack of bursting and multiple stacks of spit, that is very difficult to survive. Rawl the Glutton is now almost dead for Perplexed. Deplete from Beyond has yet to pull him. That is a large advantage in favor of Perplexed here. They just need to make sure that they stay in control of this dungeon, and they have almost 80% trash count as well. So they're pretty much done with count. After this, they can take an obelisk down to the Lord and Lady Waycrest room, and then they should get all the rest of the trash they need from that. So they are pretty much home free here. Split from Beyond doing their big pull, though. This is a triple Death Knight. Let's see how great that is with this pull. This has got to be the reason to play triple Death Knight is this pull.
Yep, there's definitely a lot of trash on top of Ral here for the Deplete from Beyond side. Clicks dropping incredibly low, going down. They do not have a battle rush available.
Iglu's down as well.
That is
the
can theoretically finish this, but it's going to take them a long time. Ral does not do a lot of damage, so theoretically, Rentari might be able to self-sustain himself on a Fortified Ral pull, but he's out of defenses because he had to use everything on that trash, and they also have a Steward here, which just increases the damage Rentari is taking.
Yeah, Rentari is going down
There
here.
we go. Yeah, Rentari going down.
That is going to be the rest of the team dying as well. And again, I'm not quite sure about the plan here. I feel like that they should have wiped immediately upon their healer and a DPS being dead at that time.
Yeah,
There's
probably.
often this kind of desire to just keep it going and keep a pull going, but I think that the writing was on the wall for that one, and they are going to be now running back. This is a really tough run back as well. This is the kind of thing where you don't necessarily have a run back practice, and you run into obstacles that you didn't expect on the run back. So Rentari, okay, looks like they've melded off combat, so they should be okay here, but still, it's a really nasty position to be in. It's going to cost them a lot of time.
Yeah, on the other side, Perplexed, they already dealt with 2 of the obelisks, and now they're gonna use the Nyalotha realm to walk down to that next boss's area. And this is a very smart thing they did here. They killed Senrek back in it, and also the Tank Bastard at the same time. They just basically had both of the obelisks being activated at the same time, and then you can fight them all at once, which of course is difficult to having to fight 2 of them at once, but in the MDI it's definitely something you can pull off, and now they are engaging the boss fight with all of the trash in this area.
Yeah, this is going to be, again, the Death Knights need to kill all this trash before it kills the rest of the team. It is a scary moment, and it's very important that the Death Knights do their damage properly here. There you can see a Shine starting to pop his big cooldowns. Wolf Disco as well. And it actually looks like Swag has done a majority of the heavy lifting here just with that Hunter. No Death Knights required. All that trash already dead there. Great work by Perplexed.
Yeah, and you can see Divine Field charging from left to right. It's basically because he's waiting here for his Spell Reflect to be ready. Not just for survivability, but also for boss DPS. Because if he gets his Spell Reflect back up when the boss casts the Wasting Strike, it just does more boss damage, and therefore you just see him leap from left to right.
Yeah, the Wasting Strike and Spell Reflect cooldowns are slightly desynchronized, but recently it's been discovered that you can alternate double Intervene and then Intervene and Heroic Leap for every other Wasting Strike, and that will let you make enough distance away from Lord Waycrest that by the time he eventually catches up to you, you will have your Spell Reflect back. That is something you see a lot of very skilled tanks doing on this boss fight. It's a little bit sketchy, though, because you need somebody to intervene to in the right position. You can see it's actually that statue from Zamak that's been placed in a specific location so that Divine always can know that he's charging to that spot with the intervene.
Definitely convenient to have the statue here that you can use to charge to. And it looks like they're about to finish off that boss too. Deplete from Beyond did re-engage Rel at this point. But yeah, it's just a huge amount of time loss, especially when you look at Perplexed barely making any mistakes on their side. It's just close to 11 minutes in the dungeon and they're already on their way to the last boss. So just insane speed by Perplexed, really. Deplete from Beyond, and looked like they had a really fast strategy as well. Smog almost going down as he was running through those ads to skip them. Looks like they are going to Shadow Melt off the aggro, or they're pulling it on top of the boss. We'll see.
They do need the count from it, so I imagine that, it's going to get pulled onto the boss.
Oh, they have obelisks? Oh yeah, they need it anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so they have Blood of the Corruptor and Voidweaver Malthair here with the last boss. They need to get those interrupts, and they're going to run a little bit out of space thanks to those Blood of the Corruptor puddles. But as long as their Death Knights are able to stand in their Death and Decay for at least the first 10 seconds of this pull, that will be all the time that they need. That is the really big thing for Death Knights, is being able to stay inside their Death and Decay. And you can see that has allowed both of them to spike over 1 million DPS here on the pull. Woodweaver Malthair now starting to get some cast off, and a cast does go through on Swag, who immediately perishes as a result. And that is one of the scary parts of this fight, is you don't quite have, you have to spend an interrupt on Gorak Tol himself, so you don't actually get one on Malthair. But it looks like they're already at 100% count. I'm not sure if they're going to kill Malthair. They might just kill Gorak Tol instead. Maybe somewhere in this drought they've gotten a little bit extra count. It looks like Malthair will be dying, but yeah, wow, Gorak Tol is just melted here as well.
Yeah, they definitely focused Gorak Tol right after they got that blood down. The blood is definitely an awaken mob that needs to die really quickly here just because of the limited room that you have. You see Swag actually being in this pool, and it's not because he doesn't know how to get out, but it's because if he's in this pool, the ads will actually not jump because there's no path available to reach Swag, and therefore the ads from the boss will not do their jump and therefore do not spread out and also not do the damage from the jump. And Gorak Tol is going down, so Perplexed is winning the first game against Deplete from Beyond, and what a run it was by Perplexed as well.
This is Waycrest Manor, right?
Yeah.
Right. This is 5 boss dungeon, right?
That is correct.
This is 12 and a half minutes?